I'm a Brazilian, and no, we don't speak Spanish in here. But I've been trying to learn it. But the story starts way before Spanish. As a Brazilian, I am a Portuguese native speaker, and I've spoken it until the age of 13 when I started learning English. And why did I start learning English? Well, I was never a big fan of Portuguese itself. I never really enjoyed Portuguese classes. I just spoke the language because I live in here. But then I started to play some games, to watch some YouTube videos, and English is really an international language. So why not watch some videos in English? I was finding way more interesting content in English rather than in Portuguese. So I started having this exposure to the language, and then naturally I started listening more and understanding more of the language, but not really studying it. I never remember taking a notebook or a textbook or some classes and really studying the language itself. Rather, I was just listening to it, spending time with the language. And as time was passing by, I remember that in one very specific situation, I had to translate an American guy from English to Portuguese. And it was amazing. I found that fascinating. And people discovered that I could speak English. And then they started asking for classes. Some friends started asking for classes. And I started getting more and more interested on that, studying more the language, trying to spend more time. But this time I really had a focus. I would help other people, so I would teach English. And then time was passing and I joined the school. I was working in a languages school here in Brazil, but I was teaching English in there. And at the age of 20, I decided that I would like to learn Italian. But why was that? Because at the school, I found a little bit limited somehow, like I couldn't really put into practice the method the way I really believed language should be taught. So what happened is I said, well, if my method is really good, because at that time I started following some famous YouTubers, some famous polyglots like Steve Kaufman, Stephen Krashen, Luca Lampariello, and all these guys. And I was like, okay, I really believe in this one, and their method is not really matching with the school's method. So I'm gonna try this method myself. I'm gonna challenge myself, try Italian, and see how it goes. In the end, I ended up learning it. And I said, man, this is the method. I learned how to learn languages. And then I had a friend at the time, and he was learning German. We worked at the same school. And he said, man, come on, would you like to teach me some Italian? Then I might teach you some German. And I was like, why not? Sounds like a perfect idea. I teach him what I know, and he can teach me German, such a different language. So it was a great deal. And I started learning it. It was so fun. But you might be asking, okay, how did you actually get to learn German and Italian? Actually, I am not like a B2 or C1 level in these languages. Maybe in Italian, you could say like a B2, or in German, you could say like A2. But it doesn't matter. How did I do it? How did I get to have some conversation in the language? And it was all about exposure, getting a lot of input in the language. So I would listen to YouTube channels, podcasts, songs. I would try to read some texts. I would try to talk to some people. I would play some apps like Duolingo. I would really try to spend some time with the language. And it was fun. It was not a burden. It was not something that it was mandatory. It was like a hobby, something that fascinated me and opened me new windows, new doors to new worlds. And then some time went by and I was speaking Portuguese and English pretty well already. And then Italian was going well so far. German, I was kind of learning the language. It was so fun. And then at the university, in college, I met a French guy. And I was like, man, can you teach me some French? I teach you some Portuguese. That sounds like a great deal, exchanging languages. And so did we, but not for so long, because we had some conversations, but also I started spending more and more time with the French language in my own routine, in my own life. While driving, I was listening to some podcasts, trying to listen to some music, trying to keep a journal, trying to write some text, talk to some people, record some stories on Instagram, just trying to share with people what I already knew about it. And then we come in the end and I started learning Spanish. But why, after all this time, I started learning Spanish? Why didn't I start studying it earlier? Because I don't know if you know, but Portuguese and Spanish, they are so similar. They actually share 89% of their vocabulary. It's like super, super easy for someone who already speaks Portuguese to speak Spanish. It's the most logical choice. But I don't know, I just never had a motivation to do that. What happened was that in college, I started teaching a group of people from Venezuela, and in there they speak Spanish. And when they asked me what languages I spoke, and they discovered that I didn't speak any Spanish, I answered them in Spanish, like, oh, no, yo no hablo español. And they said, no, but your accent is great, you should do it because you already know a lot of from the language. And then I had the motivation to start learning the language as well. And then I started also putting Spanish into my routine, and it's been a really, really nice process. Well, in all of this, all of the things that are happening, I've learned what to do and also what not to do. So, my tip number one would be like, just do it and do it as a fun activity. Put it in your routine, just listen to it, make it part of your life, of your routine. Listen a lot, and later you will start speaking a lot. Also, what not to do is do not worry about time, do not be anxious, do not think that you need to be speaking the languages in a few months. No, respect your process. Learn like a baby. You don't see babies complaining on what they cannot say, rather, they focus on what they know. They don't worry about making mistakes, they just learn it, they just speak it. And the best part is, people understand it, they can communicate. Well, I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. Leave a comment down below. I would love to see your own story with the languages, your journey with it. My journey is just starting. I know that I have many, many years, many, many languages to learn, many, many tips to share with you guys. Because after all, this is learn and share. All that I learned, I will share with you guys. Thank you so much for watching and hope that you have an amazing day. See you. Bye bye.